And so please describe to me what the aesthetic look is exactly.
Well, like this guy here.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring
Oh wow, you really have to come in here?
like this guy here.
Is this
No,
is this really happening? He met the other guy behind you, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm right into that bad boy.
You can stay right there, behind the camera, behind the camera. No, see now you got me jealous now.
That's okay.
That's not
no,
fair.
but you're more in the category like Luther Richter, Arnold, okay?
My man. Yeah. Arnold Ferrigno. Huh?
Okay.
Aesthetic. That's great, partner. You two ever go out place everything in its proper place?
That does not make sense, but we usually do go, we head to Kroger's and we work.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lady waiting for me back home also. She has the most beautiful scrotum. oh God! And when she sings, she sounds just like a puppy dog. How do you nail a photo?
Just gotta get in the mode. You gotta talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes. You
Okay,
gotta
so
have the eyes.
can you show me a little bit of something, like to this camera? I would love to know how to do this. I just want to know.
Well,
how do you do it?
you
Teach
can
me
smile,
something.
You can get the sexy eyes. Then you gotta get the smile. Smile going on some shoes, but
Wait, hold up.
I gotta
try
when it's
this.
time, when it's time to laugh,
I gotta try this
you gotta
with
think
you.
of something funny and start laughing.
Do it again. Do it again. How do you do it? Teach me.
Sexy eyes.
The sexy eye.
Just a sexy eye right here.
Smizing?
Smile.
So you're smizing.
Smile.
Okay.
And then you gotta get the.
No, I look like I need to take a poop or something.
Each words were like little toy guns. No sting, no hurt, no one, just a bang, bang. Right?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Just a bang,
Toy
bang,
guns.
rolling off your tongue.
Toy guns.
It's no smoke, no
Bang, bang.
bullets.
Water guns. All right.
STL, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so stay original. Got the haters catching feelings, get your hands into the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready, forget about it, goodbye. Heard we just saying hi. Find somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody, let's go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I know you probably can't hear that theme song is acting weird right now. My whole system's acting kind of funky right now. But anyway, we are getting things started. We got a great day. It's Monday, y'all. It is Monday. I hope you guys all had a wonderful and prosperous and positive and productive weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I had a great one myself. It was a busy one, but I got a lot of stuff done. A lot of much needed stuff done. Anyway, good morning to everybody that's filing in. Be sure to hit that like button down below. That would really mean a lot. Trying to get a hold of my boy David, but he's not picking up. So I don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully he's doing okay. And if he's watching the show right now, hopefully he'll call in when he gets a second. But anyway, I mean, there's plenty of things that we got to talk about. There's plenty of things to pop off and talk about here. I don't know about you guys, but like I said, my weekend was a very busy one. There's a lot of things in the works because of a lot of different things that are happening in my city. As you see underneath right now, St. Louis is going to be opening to full capacity. Restaurants, bars, live event venues, you name it, will be opening at full capacity, which is a really amazing thing, y'all. I'm going to be real. I'm really excited about it. It's about damn time that we're able to open up a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, there's still going to be a lot of video, a lot of like a lot of those criterias, you know what I mean? There's still going to be a lot of protocols and all that, you know, wearing the mask, 6 feet, etc. But a lot of these places can actually open up and be finally open And because there's a lot of restaurants, lots of live venue locations and all that have been struggling through this really, really hard time. You know what I'm saying? It's been really, really tough as of late, you know? But to be really, really honest, I am definitely very, very happy and excited about this news. It's great news in my personal opinion. I know that a lot of other people may feel some type of way about this, because I know there's some people being like, well, there goes St. Louis. You know, there are some people that are concerned about opening up the city, but at the same time, I think that this is something that is crucially needed. I think that it's fair to take a look and see what happens. There are other cities that are opening up as well. I mean, we just talked about it the other day. We have New York City is planning on opening up as well. There's a lot of other cities that are starting to reopen and finally start doing this thing. And then, you know, you also got to look at the Texas as well. Texas opened up, and so far, from what I understand, there hasn't been anything crazy as far as like numbers, outbreaks, etc. So if they're doing okay, I'm thinking we're going to be okay too. Fingers crossed. You know what I'm saying? Like, fingers crossed. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a lot. Yeah. Kiki said, Pascal can finally realize his dream and become a lounge singer. Yes. Everybody got to have a dream, man. Everybody got to have a dream. Fly me to the moon. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need any background accompaniment. I don't need any pianos. I don't need nothing. I can just snap. You know what I mean? That jazz, babe. Yeah. The entire time. Anyway. But yes, that is some good news. You know what I mean? It's like, it's nice to start off the week on a high note or on a positive note. And the fact that they are finally opening up the doors, finally getting this thing open, means a lot. In my personal opinion, I'm very excited about it because we need to get things moving. You know what I mean? And yes, jazz hands, spirit fingers, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Snaps only, Tracy. You know what I mean? Skibbity bee bop boop. You know what I mean? That's it. And I'm just scatting the entire time. No lyrics, no specific like standards of jazz standards or anything. It's just going to be me straight up scatting the entire time whilst snapping. Just like that. Yeah, babe. It's that jazz. See what I'm saying? Smoking that wacky tobacco. Devil lettuce. Marijuana. Aunt Mary. See what I'm saying? Anyway. Pascal's the scat. No, I'm not a scat man. Okay. But anyway. So we got some really great stuff going on. I mean, there's obviously some other things, some big debates, some big conversations that are going on right now, in regards to things that have been popping off as of late. And we definitely have got to jump into some stories. So like I said, St. Louis is going to be opening to full capacity. Of course, that doesn't mean that instantly these live venue places like arenas, etc., are just going to be wide open. They have to still abide by certain protocols and all that. So like places like Busch Stadium, Enterprise or Scott Trade Arena, all those things, those places are not going to automatically open up. You see what I'm saying? They're not going to say full capacity, everybody fill up the Busch Stadium, with ease. No, they're still going to have certain things that they can and cannot do. There's certain rules and regulations that they have to abide by. It is as they said, this is the new normal for now. We're not going all the way to normal, but we're getting close to it, which is still really great. You still have to wear a mask. You still have to practice 6 feet. You still got to do all those things, right? But at the same time, it's still a step in the right direction where you can actually go somewhere and you don't have to stand outside waiting for 30 minutes or for an hour because they say they're at capacity and their capacity is like 6 people in there. Real talk. So this is all positive things. There's a lot of restaurants and a lot of live venue spots that are just dying for patrons, for customers, And so hopefully this is going to be done in a smooth and gradual fashion. But I know how St. Louis people are. This weekend's going to be absolutely insane. Trust and believe. St. Louis this weekend is going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be spring break, basically, for the entire weekend. It's going to be insane. And it's Mother's Day weekend, by the way. So there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be crazy. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing people out, So I think it's a really good thing. I'm very excited about it. Let's do this thing. Let's get this city back open. Let's put some money back into the city, into the people. We really need to get things moving and get things back up and running again. So I'm excited about that. That's great news. That means that could very well mean you might not see me in this room very often. So that could be a very good thing, a positive thing. That means I might be in a different set in a different area doing my show somewhere completely different, which is really, really exciting. Okay. So I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here very, very soon. Right. So one thing to start off this weekend off really, really nice is that, and I'm super, super excited about it. There is something, hold on one second. So if you guys are having a good day, all that stuff, please be sure to hit that like button down below. Send these likes all the way up. Good morning to everybody. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful morning. It is Monday. Let's not forget it is Monday, y'all. And there's a lot to talk about. There's some things that I missed out on this past weekend, which I'm going to try to cover during the show today. But there are some other things this is some weird things. We definitely got to talk about this critical race theory. All right. Critical race theory is a thing that's been going around. People have been talking about this quite a bit. And now there has been a school board recently that voted against it, not going with critical race theory, which is something that, a lot of us, I'm sure, are going, the hell are they talking about? What is this critical race theory? So I wanted to show you guys what critical theory is. Critical race theory is an intellectual movement and loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biologically grounded feature of physically distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed, culturally invented category that is used to oppress and exploit people of color. Critical race theorists hold that the law and legal institutions in the United States are inherently racist insofar as they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. Now, this is something that was established and organized in 1989. It was the first annual workshop of critical race theory, though its intellectual origins go back much further to the 1960s and 70s. So what's going on here as of recently is that there are people who are wanting to add critical race theory into schools. All right. Now, there are a lot of people that feel some type of way about this, big time. There's a lot of people that feel some type of way about this. And I'm going to show you a clip on this very, very shortly. But, of course, we got to look at this, this particular article. Now, in this article, they're saying opponents of critical race theory win Texas board election. And I mean, they won by literally like a landslide. OK, so a Texas school board has scored an overwhelming election victory to stop critical race theory and a new critical competence action plan from being forced in classes. The elections in South Lake on Saturday were so divisive that backers of the new anti-racism measures called the Department of Justice to intervene. And even pop star Demi Lovato ripped opponents of the plan. It's horrifying to see how some of the parents are literally fighting to uphold white supremacy and are resisting the anti-racism work that is so needed, she tweeted in January. Okay. Opponents, however, told a series of heated meetings. All right. Opponents, however, told a series of heated meetings for the Carroll School District that the plan created diversity police and was effectively reverse racism, pushing a left-wing agenda. All right. They even went to court and won a temporary restraining order to stop implementation that the paper noted. Voters then also sent a resounding message against the plan at the weekend election, with the 2 school board positions as well as mayor and city council's seats going to opponents of the cultural competence, with each getting almost 70% of the vote. Critical race theory ain't coming here, tweeted I guess the South Lake Families PAC that supported the victorious candidates in the wealthy suburb of about 30 miles northwest of Dallas. This is what happens when good people stand up and say, "Not in my town, not on my watch." Huh. Even radio host Dana Loesch, who lives in the district, also celebrated the quote-unquote landslide victory. Parents are running institutionalized Marxist racism out of the district, she wrote, using the hashtag #DefeatCRT and saying that parents showed up and fought back. One of the newly elected board members, lawyer Hannah Smith, called it a referendum on those who put personal politics and divisive philosophies ahead of students and families and their common American heritage and Texas values. Oh, boy. Let's see. The voters have come together in a record-breaking numbers to restore unity, Smith also said. By a landslide vote, they don't want racially divisive critical race theory taught to their children or forced on their teachers. Voters agreed with my positive vision of our community and its future. Only about 2% of the roughly 8,500 students in South Lake, are black. So, only 2%. However, the district stated a diversity council with more than 60 students, parents, and staff, after viral videos in 2018 caught students chanting the N-word. The divisive cultural competence action plan it produced included the plan for hiring a director of equity and inclusion, requiring cultural competency training and auditing the district curriculum to make it more racially sensitive. Okay, so crazy, all right? We live in this time where people are getting upset about bringing in the conversation about race into class. Before I put in my 2 cents about this, I wanted to show you guys this because I found this kind of funny. I found this a little funny because people are really, like I said, we're starting off hot today. Okay? We're starting in hot, okay? That's funny. Pascal's brainwashing services. That's hilarious. Oh my God. Gotta love that. Yeah, there are trolls out there, mods, so do your magic, okay? So, sprinkle a little magic if you don't mind. Anyway, now, the funny thing is just so you know, I ain't said nothing yet. I ain't even put in my 2 cents about this. This is just something that I think is sparking very interesting debates right now. People are feeling some type of way about implementing critical race theory into the curriculum, okay, into schools, so that there's, awareness of things, but a lot of parents feel some type of way about this. And this lady definitely feels some type of way about this. Let's take a listen to what she has to say.
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it.
Yes. She definitely just said that. Let's play one more time for you guys.
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it.
Now, there are people out here that feel exactly how she feels. Personally, I don't see a problem with bringing in critical race theory into schools. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I think that there's a lot of things that are, I think that there's a lot of conversations that need to be had that we're not having in schools. I mean, here it is. And Tim on Facebook, I'm not saying that I didn't say that she's a racist. I just thought it was funny how she's getting all choked up and feeling some type of way. Not calling her anything of that sort. I just found that very funny, though, how she's going, hey, I got a problem with having this kind of, implementing this kind of curriculum into our schools. And, that doesn't mean that I'm a racist. I just think that's kind of funny. It's just funny to me, and how she's getting all choked up. And I get it. The one thing that white people hate more than anything in the world is being called the R word. Okay? Just like black people who hate getting called the N word, white people really hate getting called the R word. I've seen it so many times, and that person will get so riled up and so angry and so offended. So I can see why she's feeling, verklempt, okay? But at the same time, this is something that needs to be brought in. I feel like there is conversations that need to be had that aren't being brought up in school. I got something else a little bit later about this promposal that is absolutely ridiculous. And I feel that if there was a class, or if there was something that was part of a curriculum, maybe a promposal, which I will be showing you guys a little bit later on in the show, maybe a promposal like that wouldn't exist if there were people, or if there was a curriculum out there where kids are being brought awareness to certain things that are going on in the world. A lot of these kids, too, are still being sheltered. A lot of these kids are being pushed. The parents are only letting them see certain amount of stuff, and then they get sheltered from the realities, from the realness of this world. But then they say ridiculous and racist, condescending remarks and things like that. And I feel like there could be an opportunity. I could see it being something that could be something great, instead of it being something that just is just swept under the rug. And I feel like that's what it is. Like, we just saw that lady say, just because I don't want that taught to my kids does not mean that I'm racist. Well, you're just putting a Band-Aid on a very, very big problem. And maybe we can start teaching these children to unlearn the certain type of hate or certain type of things that are going on through this particular class or through this curriculum. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's interesting. Okay. This whole situation is very interesting. And I mean, and of course, I feel like this is the time that we open it up. You know what I'm saying? We open up the phone lines because I want to hear your thoughts. So give me a call, 314-766-4581. What are your thoughts on this idea? The whole idea of critical race theory. What are your thoughts? Are you cool with it? Not cool with it? Do you think that there's benefits to this or not? What are your thoughts on this? Give me a call, 314-766-4581. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story, because as we already know, Texas, a school board in Texas already shut that down by a landslide. They were not cool with it. Now, this video that I showed you was an actual video from I guess a PTA school board meeting that happened in Missouri. So this was from the state of Missouri. This woman that said, "Hey, just because I'm not cool with it does not mean that I'm a racist." But I think this is a very interesting story. Like it just makes you wonder, how are we supposed to get a conversation going? How are we supposed to talk and start implementing certain things into our children other than just math and arithmetic? Like aside from those things, science and arithmetic and English and all that stuff, how are we supposed to bring up our children outside of our home to conduct in a good and balanced manner? Sometimes what they're learning at home is making them grow up to who they are in general. But what if there's an opportunity for this kind of class to raise children in a different way? I want to know your thoughts. 314. Yes, that's it. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hello?
Hello. You're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name and where you calling from?
Pascal, this is Roberta from New York City.
Hey, Roberta, how you doing? Good, good, good. What are your thoughts on this? Speak on it.
I'm thinking that every subject needs to be discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to, it's a school format. If you don't want your children to know everything that's going on, good or bad, something's wrong with you as a parent. It means you're trying to hide something. Because children are not playing anymore, even the white ones. They're starting to learn their own history, and they may not be proud of it, but it's better for them to know it and be able to correct it than try to ignore it like their parents. So I'm done.
Okay. And I agree. I think that I do feel that there needs to be an opportunity for these children, because now things are just getting worse and worse. I mean, the things that they're seeing in their phones, the things that they're checking out on social media, the things that they watch. I mean, everything's on their phone. It's within their fingertips, right? And there's certain things that they're learning from home. There's certain things they're learning from their cell phones, from their social media platforms. But there's not really a place where they can actually just talk and understand, what an Asian American is going through living in America, just like a Hispanic, living here in America. You know what I mean? Or black. I just didn't want to keep it only just black and white. But at the same time, like, I feel like especially all children, all races should have a little bit more of an understanding of what's going on within other races and why there is that tension or that anger or whatever within that's deeply rooted within each and every single race. And if there was a platform and a spot where people can actually speak their minds and actually talk, I feel like we could get closer to raising better children, raising children that are a little bit more open-minded. Not everybody is going to be. I mean, you can have somebody going through a critical race theory class all day long, and they're still not learn anything. You know what I'm saying? You could teach somebody science, they're still not going to learn. You know what I mean? It all depends on how they retain the information, but there is that opportunity to be able to bring up a new generation of children that are a little bit more open-minded and willing to work with other races.
Well, it seems like the white parents don't want their children to know the history of the European in America and around the world and how they affected the brown people. I wouldn't want my kids to know that, what my people did over all of these centuries and what they're doing now. And that's why I think that the lady was crying. I think that was just some serious guilt and a little BS backing up on her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that people like to be sheltered. People like to stay cozy. They don't like change. They like the status quo. Exactly. They like to maintain the status quo that they've had. And I think that there are. I think that when you're sitting there going, just because I don't want this doesn't mean that I'm racist. Well, no, but you are also trying to shadow and shelter your child from the harsh realities of the world. And if
wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Wait a minute, excuse me. Don't forget, these are the people that go to church every Sunday and choir rehearsal and Bible study on Wednesdays. So now they got to justify all of this fake nonsense that they've been, spreading over their children and over their life that they're not really living up to. So it's going to be, you're going to have to answer for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It ain't going to be easy.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I'd rather, speak to my children. I mean, I don't have any children. I'm not a dad or anything, but I feel like, if I did have children, I would want my children to know the realities of the world, and that there are other people in this world, and that we all can get along, and that there is the plight of being black, there is the plight of being of different races as well, and being able to understand that, but also work on this planet together in unison. You know what I'm saying? Just that unity. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Wait a minute. The parents don't want the children to learn about other people, because the more you learn about people that are quote unquote darker than you, the more you find out that your people tortured, raped, killed, lynched, stole, gave diseases to. I mean, it's not a happy fairy tale they got to tell these kids.
But it's interesting because you look at, for example, like history class. They go, okay, white settlers took, Caucasians, Europeans took people from Africa, took them over here to America. Therefore, there was slavery. Let's move on. And that's it. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And then they go, slavery was abolished in this year, yada yada yada. The part of the Constitution, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Okay, now moving on. And it's just kind of like, well, wait a second. What about the lasting impression? What about that deep rooted?
Don't forget. Excuse me. I'm from New York.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead. Hello. Hello, Roberta. Hello? Dang, I just lost her. That's weird.
Okay. We taught them the Bible, and we gave their lives meaning and the whole manifest destiny nonsense. So, it's like going to a family reunion and finding out half your family's married to each other.
Oh my God. But facts. But that's the thing, though. We live in a time that we should be knowing more of the truth and actually knowing more of what's going on, other than it being like, oh, here's this, 1 second where we're going to talk about slavery for that one week during history class, or hey, Only this month of February, we're going to be talking about these wonderful, amazing, historically black icons that we put on a pedestal. You see what I'm saying? And then that's it. And it's like, okay, and then moving on. There's never ever an opportunity to expand and talk about racial inequality, talking about the what it's like, for the other side. And just an understanding, but there is no understanding, and that's what's so frustrating about this situation. And what's frustrating is that you have parents that are going out of their way to say this is racist, Marxist, such and such, and I'm like, how is this? This is just talking about what's going on in the world. And right now, there's so much inequality going on. There's so many people that are turning into hashtags. There are so many videos of Karens. There's all these things that are going on back to back to back. There's got to be some place where these kids can understand it a little bit more. You see what I'm saying? But Roberta, thank you so much for the phone call. All right, you stay up. All right.
Wait a minute. Wait, don't hang up. You got to get closed captioning on your channel.
Okay, I'll look into it. I don't know how to do that live, but I could close captioning when the show's over for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, it was nice talking to you. Take care.
Thank you, Roberta.
Right.
Bye. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Pascal.
My brother, can you call back? Because your connection's really bad. Can you call back? Your connection is really, really bad. I can barely hear you.
All right, I'll call back.
Okay. Bye. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Pascal. Jazzy, how you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Jazzy? Good to hear your voice.
Good.
What's on your mind? Speak on it.
Very interesting topic this morning. Right along, everything I do.
Right off the bat.
So, I didn't know about this thing in Texas though till the thing today, but so I have to learn more about that. But I think being Texas, it probably is a racist thing. Although I don't understand completely about this, I need to check it. But I'm gonna pass my opinion on this.
Shoot.
For a long time, our children, we in school, were taught a false version of history. Not that everything we taught were false, but it was sugar-coated. It was totally sugar-coated, plastered over. A whole lot of stuff was left out, so it was made to look like, it wasn't that bad, right? But it was. And it was for a lot of people. And that needs to change. Change does need to happen. Change is not a bad thing. Change is how we evolve. And I agree with everything the caller just said, except one thing. Not all white people are against teaching the truth. There's a whole lot of us that are actually fighting for that. My skin is white, but I come from Native American roots. Half my family's brown. Okay,
right.
I didn't get skin pigment, but you can't. That's the problem too in society. Everybody judging by skin color.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, too, people. I'm like you and me've had this conversation. People do need to unite as the umbrella of one human race. In fact, we all came out of Africa, so we end up with different skin pigments, but we are one human race. But that does not mean we discount the diversity of our cultures and where we come from and who we are and how we identify.
Right.
That is the whole beauty of coming together. How are we going to learn anything from each other any other way?
That's true.
And expand our mindset to understand one another.
Absolutely.
And in school, that needs to change. In history classes, it needs to be taught. I think history in itself, instead of just having one history class with this old version in there, it needs to be taught from both an African-American perspective, African-American history itself as seen through the eyes of African-American descendants throughout history, Native American, the same, but we're all here, we've all had our own experiences. Every child needs to be taught these things thoroughly so they get a thorough, full view of the whole thing.
Agreed.
Because change can't happen any other way. We got to come together and understand one another as human beings and understand what human suffering is about.
I agree.
Yes, we are all one. We got to come together and love one another, but we got to love truth first and foremost.
And
you can't, and I've said that. I've said what the caller said for forever now. I get upset with these. I don't care what your religion is. You say you're religious and you serve a God of love, but you don't stand in the truth and you don't stand in brotherhood between your sisters and brothers of man that might have a different skin color or be from a different area.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry. No, you don't get to do that.
No, I do.
You know?
I agree with you 100%. I think that we live in a time where we need to stop being so sugar-coated. We were supposed to stop being sugar-coated a long-ass time ago. But now more than ever,
that's right.
We are living in a world where we are seeing the harsh realities at our fingertips. We need to have these conversations in school because there's a lot of kids that are growing up not understanding what's really going on, or they only understand what they're being told at home. And sometimes what is being told at home is not fully the truth. And that's what's frustrating. Critical race theory, I feel like...
Taught falsehood.
Say that again,
Yeah.
what? Say that again?
They're being taught complete falsehoods, or they're just being taught a restricted point of view.
Yes.
That does not expand to embrace what other people's experience has been.
And how many times do you see a kid
Which is true. Yeah.
And how many times do you actually see a kid actually want to dive deeper into that story or look into a thing more? Most of the time, and I'm not trying to, I don't want to generalize. I'm not trying to say that kids are all on a monolith and they only want to play Fortnite, but I'm just saying, how often do you see kids actually want to dive in more and learn more about that particular subject that they're talking about? It's very rare. You get one out of a few that'll sit there and actually dive into it even more. But most of the time, you're sitting there, you know, you get the information, you retain it, you memorize it so that you can, you know, splurt it back out onto a quiz, you know, like on a pop quiz or a test, and you keep it moving. And then you go, remember that thing I learned like 7 years ago? I don't even remember what it was. Who was that guy? Marcus Garvey? Who was that guy? I don't remember anymore. Most of the time, they don't even get to be able to dive into the things that they're learning. They just get a gloss over. They get a broad stroke on certain things.
And that needs to change.
Exactly.
That needs to change. That's where parenting and changes in laws and school requirement course study needs to come in.
Yes. But, you know, we also got to remember, Debbie on Facebook just said this, a good teacher will get you excited about history. And that's very true, too. But I'll also say this too, Debbie. There's a lot of teachers out here that only, like, even though they're excited, they only give you the surface. They only scratch the surface. And then they keep moving because they still have a curriculum and they still have to go through a whole book throughout that entire year. So they got to go next chapter, next chapter, next chapter. So it's not really a deep dive into certain things or certain historical cultural things that have happened for this country and that don't have to do with our founding fathers, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that I feel like that we could expand into more and actually have an open discussion about these things. And I feel like that's what a critical theory, let's say, critical race theory class would embark upon. You know what I mean? But Jazzy, thank you so much. Jazzy, thank you so much for the call. I really do appreciate it, sweetheart. All right?
All right. Keep rocking, dude.
Thank you, sweetheart. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. You know, and I think that's very a good point. You know, I appreciate Jazzy calling in and all that. And but like I said before, I feel like a lot of parents are worried about their children getting more information than they want. I guess it's weird. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, it's your boy Conservative. What's up?
What's up, Conservative? Man, how you doing, my brother? Long time.
It has been?
It has been. Yeah. I mean, I was locked up for a minute. You know, I was in that YouTube lockdown. So, you know, I couldn't really do much. But yeah, man, it's good to hear your voice and all that. So what's on your mind, man? Speak on it.
Likewise, brother.
Thank you.
So I had a encounter with critical race theory in the church.
Ooh.
In the church that I was going to.
Okay, speak on it.
It just so down here in Tampa. And it just so happened that things were getting taught a certain way at the church, and I didn't figure out until after the fact that it was critical race theory. And long story short, it was the whole narrative that the church was preaching America is systemically racist, all white people perpetuate racism. Our pastor, even, well, my former pastor, because this was a deal breaker, he created a Bible study slideshow, and it said white people, white brothers and sisters have to do X, Y, Z. Black brothers and sisters have to do A, B, C. And what struck me during that Bible study was how in the Bible study, white brothers and sisters were told that they need to repent of racism. And then I brought up the question, well, what if they haven't committed any racism? What are you telling people? Well, they have to repent of their complicity to racism. And so, mind you, when I came across the Bible study last summer, I didn't know about critical race theory. So all I knew was the scriptures and the gospel. And I had been a Christian man since 2013. So it sounded odd to me that a pastor would be saying white people have to do this, black and brown people have to do that. So Then I started doing some digging, and I was like, oh, shoot, my pastor believes in critical race theory. And after I read some of the literature, one of which I'll refer to you guys, whether you like it or not, the theory, it's Critical Race Theory, an introduction by Richard Delgado and Gene Stefancic. So I read that book, and I came out the other end. I concluded this many months ago before Ron DeSantis said what he said about critical race theory. I see it as a very divisive and a very racist theory.
Okay.
Because
can I ask you something? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, please continue. Please.
Because what it teaches explicitly is that white people are the problem. It teaches that white people are either explicitly racist or they are complicitly racist. Either way, all white people need to have this anti-racist, Ibram X. Kendi moment, or they're going to, the buzzword, perpetuate racism. Yeah. So you see this type of lingo in Buffalo Public Schools, where the Buffalo Public Schools up in New York, they're trying to teach this to their kids. And really what they're saying is all white people play a part in perpetuating systemic racism. So my thing is this. If we're going to use the word all or most, and say all or most white people are either racist or they perpetuate racism, how is that not teaching prejudice? How is that not teaching us who are black and brown to look at the white collective group as a whole and say all of them perpetuate racism? So when I meet a white person, if I believe critical race theory, I believe that there is a power structure between us, that they are superior and I am inferior. And so my thing is, I believe critical race theory teaches prejudice because it throws all white people in this group and says all white people contribute to this. And I just don't think we should be prejudging people based on their skin to say, oh, because he's white, I can conclude he's powerful, oppressive, and perpetuates racism either consciously or unconsciously. And that's the prejudice that I've seen, and that I don't, and which is one of the reasons why I particularly reject critical race theory.
Okay, so I'll say this, and I get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like I totally understand where you're coming from. All right. Because I feel like with great power comes great responsibility. So if you're going to have that responsibility of running or creating a course like critical race theory, I feel like there's a responsibility on what you are putting out there and what you're instilling in the minds of these young men and women, these young kids. All right. So whoever was in your class, right. That was sitting there saying what they said, you know what I mean? They said what they said. All right. But I'll sit here and say that was the wrong type of teacher to be talking in the way that they are talking. You see what I'm saying? With great information comes great responsibility. And I think it's how it's being addressed to the children too, or to the people that are going and taking that critical race theory. You see what I'm saying? Because I feel like that white woman that I showed you, that woman that was like, oh, if just because I don't want to have critical race theory does not mean I'm racist, is exactly what she probably thinks in her mind is what is going to conduct in these schools of white people. You should feel bad about this kind of thing. You know what I mean? You must repent, all that kind of stuff. No, it's not. I don't think it's that. And I feel like that is the extreme of what I feel is being perpetuated out there. And that's being shown out there.
The only thing I would push back on that is the actual literature, the actual discipline. Critical race theory in and of itself is not there. It wasn't created to just be there. Oh, so I raise your awareness. No, it has an activism. It has an activism role in it. When you look up like what critical race theory is and what it tries to accomplish, it's not trying to accomplish like, oh, we just understand this better. No, it's trying to accomplish exactly what some people fear, which is convicting all white people of perpetuating racism, either explicitly or implicitly. Mm-hmm. And then once this group of white people realize that, then they have to become the anti-racist, which Ibram X. Kendi wrote a whole book on. So the teaching in the school, they're really letting in the schools that do this, they're letting in a sort of activism that this critical race theory was built on. This critical race theory was built to be an activism movement. And I learned that through reading that one book. This book is not here to just inform you of what we think is going on.
Right.
This book is here to inform you that this is what's going on, and critical race theorists that continue to pass on the baton, they are creating the framework of, now this is how we address it. You need to be an anti-racist. This is how you address it. Coca-Cola, the company, makes all their white employees watch a
conservative.
Robin DiAngelo.
But then let me ask you this. What's wrong with being an anti-racist, though? What's wrong with being somebody who's against racism? I don't get why that's a thing. Because the way you're saying it makes it sound like it's like you were going down the road of, oh, it's bad to be somebody who's against racism. So please tap onto that, because make that clear.
Let me speak on this.
Okay.
I am against racism. I believe racism can stem from any one person to another person. So I don't believe, as a famous critical race theorist, Robin DiAngelo, has said, that black people can't be racist against white people. I reject that. I believe at any point in time, a person can be racist against another person, and I'm against that.
Word.
And part of my answer to your question was part of my opening, where I said critical race theory teaches prejudice. So being a anti-racist in the terms that Ibram X. Kendi display.
Wait, repeat what you said. No, can you repeat that thing again one more time? You said it. Go ahead.
Which part?
What did you just say? That I forgot. It was you were quoting. You were saying a quote about the I forgot his name. Robin or I forgot.
Oh,
his
Robin
name.
DiAngelo.
Yeah. What was that quote one more time?
Robin DiAngelo. It's more of just one of her beliefs is that white people can be racist against black people, obviously.
Right. But you said prejudice. You said something about prejudice.
No, that's what I believe. So when I start talking about prejudice, I believe that critical race theory teaches prejudice. So my thing is
how so? How so though? Really quick, conservative. How so though? Because people in general, prejudice is created through just life. So how would critical race theory suddenly be implementing prejudice when prejudice already exists before they walk in the door?
Because what it teaches is that all white people perpetuate racism either implicitly or explicitly. So what that tells the person who's consuming critical race theory is if you look at a white person, you can prejudge them and say they are in some way, shape, or form dealing with racism. So you are saying that they are struggling with being a racist.
Gotcha.
Either consciously or unconsciously, and that's the prejudice that I'm talking about. Is me as a young Hispanic man, if I was to embrace critical race theory, it would tell me that every single white person I work with, I have fun with, all this, that at some level they're dealing with this deep, insidious sin known as racism, and I just don't believe that the theory should be convicting all white people of this. So to me, it's like if I was to say, obviously, I don't believe this. If I said, all right, black people as a whole, they have a problem with thievery. They steal more. They think about stealing more.
Okay.
They either think about thievery consciously or they're unconsciously thinking about thievery. So what I just did there was I took out the sin. I took out the main thing, which is racism, and I substituted it for thievery. And then I also replaced white with black. And so when I think about it in those terms, I'm like, how would I look if I erected a thinking that charged all black people with this sin and said they're either thinking it or they're doing it outright? I just see that as prejudice.
I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I do, like, as far as like the course and the class and all that, I don't think it would go down. Like I said, it all depends on who is running that particular course. If you got the wrong type of teachers in the class and they're basically saying, like you said, repent, feel bad for what, white people repent, then there's no point of having a critical race theory class at all. It's just basically like bash, white people, and that's ridiculous. But I do think that there's got to be some sort of place where there can be a conversation where there's an understanding of what's going on between white and black or any other race as well. That there are there's other things that need to be talked about outside of history class, math, and science. It's also life, dealing with life and dealing with what's going on. And I don't think that it would turn into a thing that is, all of you are, all of white people should feel terrible. Like you were saying, walking around with this heavy feeling on their hearts and on their shoulders because of what their forefathers or what their ancestors have done in the past. No, I think it's more of a conversation of trying to understand how the world is now, why the world is the way it is, and being able to have those open discussions. But hey, conservative, I do appreciate your phone call. No. I would love to continue, but unfortunately, people are like calling in like crazy. But
Go ahead.
But I
Hey,
appreciate
bro,
you, my brother.
your time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Hey, peace. Hey, you on the mic with the Pascal Show? See? Dang. Every time. Oh, there's another one. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. Oh, Lady Justice, what's up, girl? How you doing?
Hey, Sam. How you doing, Pascal?
I'm good. You know, starting off the week hot.
Hot, right?
starting off the week hot with some controversial conversations. What else is new? It wouldn't be the Pascal Show without it.
I wish I had joined as a co-host today for this.
Me too.
So, essentially, what I just want to add to this conversation is I think the problem is that when we talk about critical race theory, people seem to forget that CRT has been co-opted by, for me, for example, I believe well-intentioned white liberals. If anyone really has listened to interviews and read the book by Ibram Kendi X, they would know that actually How to Be Anti-Racist stemmed from the fact that he recognized within himself that he was holding on to some white supremacist biases against his own black people. And I just want to emphasize that it's really important that we think about where people are coming from. For example, Robin DiAngelo she's a white person who speaks to white people. And I think that we have to start to look at who's saying what to who, how it's being said, and where it's coming from. If we think about Kimberly Crenshaw, who talked about intersectionality, think about how intersectionality has been co-opted to essentially create this environment of struggle Olympics. So if you're a black, gay, Muslim, somehow you have more oppression than this person. That is co-opted. That is not people of color particularly saying that this is the case of struggle upon struggle from a critical race theory lens. That's actually misapplied. If you really think about the definition of what critical race theory does, is it takes the social construct of racism and how it intersects with the law and with policy and talks about it at a systemic level and what happens. Are people activists who happen to talk about it? Yes. They're also academics who talk about it. They're also lawyers that talk about it. It's a larger, broader class of individuals that are talking about critical race theory. And essentially, I think that we have to recognize for what it is, that it's right now what is happening, like this idea of the term woke, it's been co-opted by ineffective people who continue to propagate the harms of society without checking their own biases. I agree with the last caller, I believe it was conservative, who was saying that anyone has the ability to be biased. I don't necessarily agree that anyone from a systemic position has the ability to be racist in America. I don't believe that black people in the United States have the ability to be racist, because my personal understanding and academic understanding of racism is power plus privilege. And black people don't hold the power. We barely own anything. And when we have owned anything in the past history, it's been destroyed. Whether by bombs, whether by rioting of white people assaulting black communities, that has happened. And if we can't own that part of history and see that CRT is simply an application and an academic tool to evaluate systems of oppression, then we're going to continue to say that we have an issue. Look, there's colorism in the black community. There's colorism in the Latino community. There's colorism in the Asian communities. A lot of communities have colorism, and that stems from a Eurocentric white supremacist viewpoint. And if we can't understand why being anti-racist is important for everyone, then we're going to continue to say that these ideologies put in school are a problem. Look, anytime you talk about civil rights and you talk about voter rights and you talk about history, there is always some application of critical race theory applied. And that's the thing that people seem to fail to understand, is that they think that in itself, it's just its only form of study, when it can actually also be a tool for application in order to talk about the context of history and the context of historical oppression within institutions. And so I will leave it at that. That was a mouthful for me.
That was quite a bit. No, and I appreciate you calling in and saying that. I mean, that is true. I mean, there is a lot that is being brought in that has been implemented into our own into our culture, into society, etc., because of these other overlaying spots, of these overlaying things. Now, doesn't mean that every single person that, it doesn't mean that we, have them on, go into this classroom and it's just damning every single person that is of Caucasian descent. That's ridiculous. It's not that. It's being able to have these open conversations and actually talk about these things. And then, of course, if we're able to go as deep like Lady Justice just did, because that's more like the honor roll students go to that level. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Like that level. It goes deep. You know what I mean? But at the surface layer, it's being able to have these conversations and talk about these things and being fully aware of what's going on in our culture. And that I'm talking about the American culture. You know what I'm saying? Not just the black culture, not just the white culture, the American culture. And that culture is a huge mixing pot or a huge pot that's mixed up with a lot of different things that are inside of that. And that's all races, colors, creeds, religions, etc. I mean, it's everything. And that's the thing. It's being able to have those conversations under one roof and have that open conversation so that we can have less ignorance out in the streets, so that we can have more people that I'm trying to avoid using this word, okay, that starts with a W. Okay, I'm not trying to go down that road of using that word. It rhymes with broke. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's that opportunity to open our eyes and be able to have these conversations. And so that our children, when they see things that are going on, they know what's going on. They're not just sitting there going, but why? I don't understand. But why? And also, it's not a punching down. I feel like it also depends, like I said, it also depends on what the curriculum is and who is teaching that curriculum. But it's important that, these white parents, white students understand that it's not a punching down event. Like, come on into this class and we're just going to beat you to crap. No, it is not it sucks that a conservative went through this situation of they were telling the white people to repent for things that happened centuries ago that have nothing to do with them physically right now. I don't think that's the right way of approaching critical race theory. But being able to talk about these things, I think, is important. And when you have parents that are going, I refuse to have that happen to my children, to me, I feel that is just blocking and sugarcoating and sheltering their children away from the harsh realities of this world. And why this world is the way it is because of things that happened in the past. That foundation has already been there, and it's been there for centuries. And we need to be able to bring up those conversations with our children so we could talk about them in a diplomatic and understanding way. So what you said earlier, just a second ago, is damn right. It's spot on, and yes, please, let's be against racism. You know what I'm saying? Let's be against that. That's what I feel should also be a part of that curriculum, if it ever gets passed by any school board. You see what I'm saying? That's something I would love to see happen as well.
And that's the thing is, if people say, if people want to say I'm not a racist, like, why do you have to get combative about being anti-racist? Anti-racist should be something that any good, kind, civil, respectful individual would want to be.
Every person.
It's like saying I want to be anti-hateful. Like, you just stop being a hateful person.
Right.
Period. Right. And when it happens, we have to be willing to call it out. For example, you don't stop bullies by allowing bullies to continue to bully people. You stop bullies by either disciplining, calling it out, and protecting individuals. And one way that we protect people from history repeating itself is to become anti-racist. is to become anti-sexist. It's to go against homophobia. It's to go against Islamophobia. Just be kind to individuals, but don't shirk having a conversation about it.
Word.
Conversations are healthy. And it's when you start shutting down those conversations, it's when you start canceling people, it's when you stop being open to talking about this or only holding on to one thing. I would never tell someone to repent for the sin, but I will say that I don't want you to be complacent.
No, of course. I mean,
You know,
there should be.
I will say I don't want you to be silent.
Right.
I will say I need for you to speak up for me. And if you're not willing to do your part in ensuring that we have a society that loves each other, then you're part of the problem. That's what I say.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do the work, regardless of what you call it, you're part of the problem.
Yes.
And if you're not willing to have a conversation about it, then you're also part of the problem.
Ain't it funny?
That's just what I say.
Isn't it funny? Because like if you're willing to work, you're willing to work at anything, right? If you're really passionate and love certain things, like your wife, your spouse, or whatever, and if you ever have a problem and that person turns to you and goes, I really hate it that you do such and such, you do everything you can in your power to work those things out because you care and love for that person, right? Or if a best friend turns to you and says, hey, here's an issue that I have with you, man, and you have that heart-to-heart conversation and you do everything you can to work those things out because that's your best friend and you love them. We all should be loving each other in that same type of way of like, hey, you know what? I need to know these, I need to know more. I need to understand a little bit about, why, the world is the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So that I can approach things in the best way instead of me just going, okay, as soon as I see some guy getting beat up by the cops, I'm instantly going, well, he obviously is a drug dealer, or he's obviously on drugs, or he's on some sort of narcotics. It's like, no, I feel like there is a certain amount of effort that we as a people have to start using, because our people, all of us, we have to put effort towards things. But when they start saying, oh, you mean we have to get into a classroom and we have to work on this? That's when laziness comes in. Like the lady who said, I don't want my child to learn about this. That's just her being lazy, not willing to let that child or her children open their minds and actually figure things out so that when they bring children into the world, they're bringing a different breed. They're bringing a different child into the world. But if we're not willing to put in the work, then why are you putting in work on anything that you care about? If you care about life, if you care about the human race, you should be willing to put in the right kind of education into your children's minds. You see what I'm saying? But that's just, right. I mean, that's just me though, too. You see somebody who's out there, they'll do everything they can in their power to keep their loved one, keep their marriage intact, etc., keep their job. But when we're talking about life and how we have to deal with the stuff that us as black people have to deal with on an everyday basis, and these people are not even, there are people out here that are not willing to try to even understand it, shows just laziness. And then you can go just be in that corner then. Go on, sit in that corner then. You know what I mean? We good. I know where you stand now. I'm now smarter for knowing that. You know what I mean? Because now I know who you are. But that's just me. You know what I mean? That's just my thoughts personally on this as well. I mean, I know it's a messy conversation. It's going to be a messy conversation. It is. That's just what it is, unfortunately. But if we don't come to terms on something, if we don't have something where we can actually start talking about things, we're just going to start eating each other up. We're literally going to start fighting, and things are going to get much worse out here in these streets. If there's a place that we can all sit, this is the Tyler Perry moment I'm having right now, where we can all come together in the middle. You know what I mean? And if that means having a critical race theory class where we can understand oppression, racism, bigotry, all those things, and where they stem from, why they are there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much we can grow from there, especially if we're starting with our children, y'all. Then the next generation is that much more unlearned of the hate.
Right. And so the last thing I'll say when
Shoot.
it comes to the education, here's where I'll say I think I might have more of a problem with it being in schools at the moment. If I don't think we have enough people who have been academically trained to utilize critical race theory as a tool to bring it in successfully in schools.
It would have to be specialists.
I'll say that because it's still it's not a new topic, but I feel like it being at the forefront is still very new. And I think that with it being as new, people did not go through this training when they were in college. Heck, critical race theory specifically was when I was in college, in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, was only taught by ethnic studies teachers within the context of the study in which they were talking about, whether it's women and Black intersectionality, African American studies, in any of those, that's where it was discussed. But as far as it in context to teach critical race theory, I don't think that there are people outside of the university that really could handle this at a high school or middle school level.
No, you're
and
absolutely right.
that would be one of the only reasons why I would be hesitant to say throw it in school.
See, okay, I can see your point on that. I could definitely see your point on that. But then it's just making sure that you have the people that have taken the I guess the what's the word? The protocol of getting the right kind of certification or right kind of credentials to be able to teach a specific curriculum like that. Tim Ingram just said, should a white teacher teach it or a Black teacher teach it? I think it just matters on who the teacher, what kind of credentials that teacher has. Because, like I said, you don't want to
should teach it. Period.
Say again, what do you say?
Skilled teacher.
A skilled
teacher should teach it.
Exactly.
Period.
I think at the end of the day, it really does go down to how much what that teacher has, what kind of credentials, what kind of subject or the thing that they specialize in. Maybe it turns into a thing where there is teachers that are specialized in only critical race theory. Like I said, I mean, there's people get certified for all kinds of different things. Trust me. So why can't they do the same thing for a specific subject matter, especially something this sensitive? I feel like it would have to be somebody who knows their ins and outs and knows how to speak to the people, students and all that the right way. So it's not going like what conservatives said, which is punching down at a specific race. And that's wrong. I think that's wrong. I don't agree with that. If I was white and was going into a classroom and it was all, punching down at me for just being Caucasian, I would feel some type of way too. I wouldn't want to take that class. I'd be like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Even so, if you really look at schools that are teaching, African American history studies, etc., you know what I mean? There's a lot of white students that take those classes too because they want to learn more about the other side of history. But I would hate, if some Caucasian student wanted to go into that class, I wouldn't want the entire thing being like, the white man did this, the white man did that. You know what I mean? There's got to be a way of presenting conversations in a diplomatic way. You know what I mean? So that all people learn and are able to walk away with more education. But punching down at a specific race is not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to get us anywhere, and it becomes pointless, right? But Lady Justice, Breon, thank you so much for calling in. I do appreciate it, sweetheart.
Absolutely. You have a great day, and everyone in the family, take care of yourselves.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
It's a great conversation. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that we need to there's a lot that we don't have like the full. There's no right or wrong answer to this situation, but I don't understand personally why there are schools that are going out of their way to try to shut this thing down. And then when you have people like radio hosts and all that stuff tweeting basically saying, we downvoted that thing, it got shut down by a landslide. I feel like that is something that is absolutely unnecessary And it's another form, I feel, of white supremacy. That's what I think. That's what I think. If you're not willing to have real, true conversations about what's going on in this world that have things to do with the other races that actually occupy this country, to me, I feel like that is suppressing something that shouldn't be suppressed. And that's just my personal opinion. Clearly, there's plenty of schools out here that are going to be out there, northern schools and southern schools, that are going to feel some type of way about this. They're going to say it's some Marxist thing. They're going to say it's racism and all that stuff. But I don't think that it's like that. And if they really were to look into it a little bit more, I think this would be a completely different conversation. But I don't think that parents, teachers, etc., that are against CRT are wanting to open their minds. Like I said, they are complacent. They are comfortable exactly where they're at. They don't want to open their minds any more than they need to. And the only reason why people are tripping about this even more is because they want to turn it into a required part of the curriculum, not a, hey, you can just take this if you want to as an elective. No, they want to turn this into an actual part of the curriculum that these kids have to go through it before they graduate high school. And that's why people are having a problem with it. If this was just an elective and it was just thrown off on the side, this would be a completely different conversation. Then they'd be like, okay, well, if a kid wants to do it, then no. They're going, oh, you're going to force my child to understand the plight of a black man? Bruh. I have a huge problem with that. And that's stupid. That's ridiculous. Seriously. That is the thing. Chuck, same thing. It's like, hey, Chuck Diesel just said, I'm not here for all the white guilt. # not sorry. And that's basically what it is. It's like they think that as soon as this class is implemented, that it's just going to be the white man did this and they should all go to. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's not that. But these are conversations that need to be had. Because I feel like if we have that, we step towards that type of understanding, we can step towards a much better world. Big time. We can move to a much better world. We can expand our minds. We could do more. But no. People out here are feeling some type of way, scared out their minds because of God knows what. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But, this is literally a perfect example of why something like CRT should be implemented in schools. I'm about to show this to you. There was a promposal that it has been going viral. All right. A photo that's been going viral, etc. I need to show it to you. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to get my face out of this thing. But this is what happened in a school in Big Lake, Minnesota. It says, as I read, if I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you. Prom? Yeah, that is real. So here it is, y'all. Earlier this week, this was last week, okay? 2 students posted a racist promposal on Facebook that read, if I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you. The post has since gone viral, and now parents and students of the Big Lake District are outraged and calling for a change to be made, according to this news outlet. I'm very disgusted, Carrie Hatch, a black mother of 2 students in the school district, said. It was a lot. It was a lot of emotions. Anger was probably the initial emotion. Her daughter is the one who told her about the incident. Hatch says she is concerned about her children's well-being at the school. She says, I asked the principal to do my children need to come home, to come to school with full body armor and an escort to make sure that they're safe, she said. Crazy, right? This is true. This is a true mother-loving story. But what's funny, I'm going to show you guys a news clip here because it is really, really bad. Like I said, this is something that has been shared a lot, been talked about, but I also want to point something out, and I'm going to show that to you guys here in a second. But here is the news clip.
The Big Lake School District is investigating after a student used this sign with racist language to ask another student to prom. That's our top story. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. Mitty Hicks joining us live tonight. So, Mitty, the school district issued an apology, but many saying that's not enough.
That's right. Parents and students from this community say this should be a teaching moment for these students involved, that actions have consequences. And that's why they're urging the school district to do more.
Now, imagine a world if we actually had, a curriculum like we just talked about a second ago, some CRT action going on. Do you think that this thing would be still executed? I'm sure it would be to a certain extent. Certain schools, people are just jerks. Kids are just idiots, for sure. But imagine if this was not, if there was something implemented, a curriculum like that. Maybe we would see less of this. I'll explain here in a second.
I was very disgusted. It was just a lot of emotions going through.
Carrie Hatch says she's concerned for her children's safety at school following this viral photo of a prom proposal. The poster reads, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you."
So many words, just anger, I think, was probably the first initial emotion. And how can this happen? How do they feel comfortable saying this?
The school district says it's taking the incident very seriously and is in the process of investigating this matter, adding that it does not condone racism in any form. But both current and former students want to see more action taken.
I want the district to take accountability. They need to set an example of what to do in this situation.
I would feel more comfortable if they were taken out of the school. I just can't imagine how the people that look like me there at that school can feel like loved or accepted or even respected.
And young activists are hoping this incident sends a clear message to other students statewide getting ready for prom.
I just want to point something out, okay? Just taking this back. Who in their right ass mind would want to be okay with holding a poster like this and take a damn photo and post this on social media? I repeat, who in their dumbass minds would be okay with posting something like this on their social medias for everybody to see? I'm sorry, inquiring minds would like to know. Who in their dumbass minds would be okay with this? Okay. Just wanted to point that out.
Getting ready for prom.
Be cognizant of other people's feelings and don't mistake humor for disrespect, for racism.
And I couldn't agree more. Now, the funny thing is that there is apparently the two kids that were in that photo have been reprimanded, of course, because they are minors and all that stuff. They couldn't put out their information, I wouldn't want to know their names and everything, but they did not disclose how they were being reprimanded, how they were being punished. There are people that are saying that they could possibly be still going to prom. There's a possibility that they could still go to prom. Just saying that out loud. There's a possibility that those two kids can still show up to prom. Now, the other thing is, though, which is very weird, is that this is not the first time something like this happened. This is ridiculous, y'all. I need to show it to you guys. Like I said, this is not the first time this has happened. Okay? Weird, but for some weird reason, this seems to be an ongoing theme. I'm not kidding you guys. You got to take a look at this. Take a look.
Wow. That was 18-year-old Erin Williams' first thought when she...
Look at this. If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you for prom. I'm not kidding. By the way, this video, this story came out in April of 2018. No lie. Let's take a look. Take a look at this. You see that? Right there. April 23rd of 2018. This is an ongoing, ridiculous thing that kids are using and they're posting. Hold on. But wait, there's more. Let me show you another one. This happened May of 2019.
Teachers this morning. There's so much happening here on campus this week. Students have to deal with AP exams. Prom is this Saturday, and now everyone's talking about this.
It's truly just disgusting behavior, and my first reaction was that we need to mobilize.
This Palos Verdes High junior saw this disturbing post. Two smiling students posing with a poster that reads, "You are racist, but I would give anything for you to go to prom with me."
This is an ongoing thing. This is an ongoing thing, y'all. Okay? Racist promposals. Real talk. Racist promposals is a thing. Like I like for me, it's like I understand the want of something to be a memory or something that you'll never forget that's memorable, but you're making memorable moments out of racist posters. Now, like I said, 3 years ago, a dude said the same thing 3 years ago. And then now, dude does the same poster because he thinks it would be funny. Then he has the audacity to go and post a photo with him and his prom date on social media, thinking that this is okay. Now, this is what I'm talking about when we talk about, this is why I put it up today, because this is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to critical race theory. The importance of being able to have those kind of conversations so that we don't have stupid ass ish like this being presented to a girl for prom. Like, I'm sorry. I know everybody's allowed to have their own opinions and their thoughts and, freedom of speech and all that crap. I get it, okay? I fully get it. You are allowed to do and say whatever the hell you want. I get it. But there's another part that does not make any sense to me. We live in a world. We have grown up in a world. We all learned and grown up in a world where we know without a shadow of a doubt that a poster or a promposal like this does not fly. Yet there are a small majority, there's a small percentage of people out here that believe that that is funny, that believe that that is okay. You don't think that if we had some classes and some curriculums in our education system, you don't think that less of this would show up? You don't think that we would see less racist TikToks and random rants of racism rhetoric that's being said on Facebook status updates and Twitter posts? And yet that is somebody that went out of his way to create that poster. He thought it would be funny. He thought it would be cute. And he did this. You don't think that we would sit here after that kid maybe have gone through a class or two? You don't think that maybe he would have been able to unlearn that ignorance? I mean, obviously, I am very hopeful, okay? And I'm always that person that always tries to look at the bright side of life. You know, it's always half full, not half empty. But when I see stuff like this, I keep going, well, if there was more in schools and there was more an open discussion and more of an understanding, then maybe we wouldn't have to have stories being told like this. Instead of this, it would be two people being able to go and have the time of their lives, have a memorable prom, and have that, you know, photos and all that for their memories forever. But now that they have that memory, now they have that because now it's in the news. Now people are talking about it. Now people in that school are worried about actually going to the prom because they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be with that couple that represents something so negative. That's why I keep thinking, like, we live in a time, we live in a world where discussion is needed, where conversation is needed more than ever now. We need to have these conversations. We need to be out here saying what needs to be said, addressing the hard realities of what's going on in the world. We need to talk about those things, but we're just sheltering our kids. And then they automatically think something like this is okay. It's just a joke, Mom. Man, I would smack the taste out of that kid's. If that was my kid, bruh, that person would not see. No prom, no nothing. But at the same time, these kids, they thought that was okay. That also was a reflection on the parents and what the parents are showing to them as what is okay. And if the parents showed these kids that that kind of stuff is unacceptable, he wouldn't have done a promposal just like that. But anyway, but that is the show for today, guys. I do appreciate everybody for coming in and being a part of the conversation today. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like button down below. That would really, really, really mean a lot. All right. If you haven't done it as well, hit that subscribe button. I do this show Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. I appreciate all y'all for being on today. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're on other platforms and you can, please share this show. These are the conversations that need to be had. We need to talk about these things more often, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why when I woke up this morning, I saw that this was something that people were talking about hardcore about critical race theory. I'm like, all right, we need to have an open discussion about these things. Real talk. And I know it's hard. You know what I'm saying? I know it's hard to talk about these things, but we have to talk about these hard things so that we can keep moving on. You know what I'm saying? So that we can grow as a human race. Right now, everything is extremely separated, extremely polarizing. And we need to find a way to come back into the middle and work together in unison. It just sucks because sometimes when you see stuff like this, like a promposal, it's something small. But the fact that that's making the news, the fact that somebody went out of their way to write that out, says how much work we still have left to do. Anyway, appreciate all you guys. You guys are amazing. All right. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. For those of y'all who just hit the join button recently, I do appreciate all you guys. I really appreciate the support. Like I said, $4.99 a month. helps me fuel this show, and I keep giving you your stories. All right. So please, if you got time, hit that join button down below. That would really, really mean a lot. Anyway, it is time to get going. Okay. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I will see you guys very, very soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Folks and people of color have been hit hard by COVID-19. And now there's a vaccine, and you have to decide whether to get it or not. That choice is yours. Get information based on the facts. Visit preparestl.com to learn about the pros and cons of the COVID-19 vaccines. When you know better, you choose better. Prepare STL.
Homeowners and property managers, if you're looking for effective and humane ways to remove wild animals and deal with the damage that they have caused, we have good news for you. Introducing Wildlife Command Center, a professional nuisance wildlife management company specializing in providing animal removal for residential, industrial, and commercial clients. We are the only wildlife company that checks 70 different areas on a structure to determine the answers to the following questions. Exactly which animal are we dealing with? How is the animal getting inside the home? What kind of damage is the animal doing to the structure? Once we get the answers to all of these questions, we develop and write up an action plan to resolve the animal issue completely and provide a quote to implement that action plan. We perform a very in-depth 70-point wildlife inspection. From visually inspecting the highest point, the chimney, to physically crawling inside the attic space and looking for animals, chewed wires, fecal matter, chewed structural wood. We inspect everything. Our inspection process covers all of the following 70 points: animal-proof chimney cap, roof ridge vents, roof to soffit junctions, dormer fascia, attic gable vents, gutter lines, fascia trim, garage door, utility penetrations, water, gas, electric, and cable, bathroom vents, attic roof ridge vents, attic electrical, wiring, junctions, boxes, and lighting, concrete decks, additions, wooden crawl spaces, basement plumbing, penetrations, ceiling, floor, and wall. Wildlife Command Center's mission is to deliver the finest quality wildlife removal and pest control service that is safe for the environment. For more information, call us now.